They say life never gives back what it takes, but sometimes, just sometimes, it gives back what you lost in the most unexpected way. The camera pans across a snow-covered city. Christmas lights flicker in the distance. An elderly man stands alone before an orphanage gate, holding a box of gifts. His name is Elias Rutherford, a man the world calls a legend, but his heart calls empty. That morning, he thought he was bringing gifts for children. He didn't know he was about to meet the one soul who could bring his lost son back to him in ways no one could explain. Studio microphone. Sometimes, a simple visit can awaken the parts of your soul you thought were gone forever. Elias Rutherford, 76 years old, owner of one of the largest business empires in the country, sat in silence inside his grand estate. The marble floors gleamed, the chandeliers sparkled, yet every sound in that house echoed with loneliness. On his desk sat a single photograph, his late son, Samuel Rutherford, smiling under the golden summer light. It had been 10 years since that tragic night, the car crash that took Samuel's life. Elias had built empires, survived boardroom wars, but he never recovered from that phone call. The laughter that once filled his home had vanished, leaving behind only the hum of silence and regret. He had spent his later years pouring his wealth into charities, hospitals, and orphanages. But deep down, every donation, every speech, every smiling photograph for the press was just a quiet prayer to his son, a way to make the world better, hoping somewhere, somehow, Samuel was watching. That winter, an envelope arrived. An invitation from a small orphanage called Haven House on the city's edge. They were hosting a holiday celebration and hoped Mr. Rutherford might visit. He almost ignored it until he read the line. The children have written their Christmas wishes. Most are asking for love, not gifts. That sentence stayed with him. And for the first time in years, Elias decided to deliver those gifts himself. The morning air was cold, the kind that bit through gloves and coats. Elias asked his driver to park around the corner. He wanted to walk the last few yards alone, to feel the world outside his fortress of glass and steel. Inside the orphanage, laughter echoed down the halls. Handmade decorations hung crookedly across the ceiling. The air smelled of cookies and fresh pine, humble, warm, alive. Miss Claire Madison, the orphanage director, greeted him with sincere gratitude. "The children have been counting down the days, Mr. Rutherford," she said with a smile. "They rarely get visitors who bring more than just toys." As he began handing out presents, books, scarves, model trains, Elias felt something stir in him. For the first time in years, he smiled without forcing it. But then, he saw him. In a quiet corner sat a boy, 7 years old, small, thoughtful, with soft brown curls and solemn, curious eyes. He wasn't playing. He was watching, silently. Elias approached gently. "Hello there," he said, kneeling beside him. "May I sit?" The boy nodded. "What's your name?" "Oliver," the boy whispered, almost too softly to hear. Something inside Elias froze. Those eyes, deep, searching, almost sad, were Samuel's eyes. His son's eyes. It made no sense, and yet it hit him like a wave. Oliver spoke little, but when he did, his voice was kind, careful, older than his years. Miss Madison later mentioned he had no records, no known family, just a baby left at the doorstep wrapped in an old blanket and a single brass button. That night, Elias couldn't sleep. He saw those eyes every time he closed his own. It wasn't just resemblance, it was connection. And he knew he would return. Headphone closing hook, Chapter 2. He went there to give away gifts, but what he found felt like a gift meant for him. Elias didn't yet understand why fate had brought him to that small orphanage, but he knew one thing. That boy, Oliver, was the beginning of something he thought he had lost forever. Weeks passed, and Elias began visiting Haven House more often. The children would rush to him with excitement, but it was always Oliver he searched for first. They'd sit together for hours, reading books, or talking quietly while the others played. Elias found in Oliver the reflection of his younger self, gentle, observant, thoughtful. The boy had an old soul, like someone who had lived more than his years. One day, Elias brought him a small wrapped box. Inside lay a silver pocket watch, one that had belonged to Samuel. "It was my son's," Elias said softly. "He loved this watch. I'd like you to have it." Oliver's eyes widened. It's beautiful. I'll take good care of it. When the boy's small hand touched his, something indescribable passed between them, a warmth, a knowing, a quiet peace that brought tears to Elias's eyes. But curiosity turned to urgency when Miss Madison showed him the box of items found with Oliver as a baby, a faded blue blanket and a single brass button with a crest engraved on it. Elias picked it up, breath-catching. He knew that crest. It was from the university Samuel attended, the same emblem embroidered on the coats issued to graduates that year. His mind raced. Could it be? Could Oliver be Samuel's son? The button was small, but the truth it carried was enormous. Elias had gone to the orphanage for peace and found a mystery that could rewrite everything he thought he knew about loss. Days turned into restless nights. Elias began a quiet search through old records, letters, Samuel's friends, piecing together the puzzle of his son's hidden life. What he discovered broke him and healed him all at once. Years before his death, Samuel had been in a quiet relationship with a woman from a small town. She'd become pregnant, but before Samuel could tell his father, tragedy struck. The accident claimed both their lives, leaving their newborn son unaccounted for until an orphanage record, hidden away, confirmed it. A baby, found near the site of the crash, on the same night. Oliver wasn't just any child. He was Samuel's son. Elias's grandson. The revelation left Elias trembling. Decades of grief twisted into a single moment of overwhelming gratitude. Fate hadn't taken everything, it had returned a part of what it stole. When Elias returned to Haven House, he held Oliver tightly, tears streaming down his face. "Oliver," he whispered, "would you like to come home with me?" The boy looked up, uncertain. "Home?" "Yes," Elias said through trembling lips. "Home, where you belong." Miss Madison, tears glistening in her eyes, smiled softly. "It seems, Mr. Rutherford, Christmas has brought you a miracle." Elias nodded, his heart full for the first time in years. He went searching for meaning, and found his blood, his family, his redemption. As snow fell over the Rutherford estate, laughter once again filled its grand halls. The sound of a child, his grandson, running through the corridors, the same way Samuel once had. Elias sat by the fire, the old photograph of his son beside him, and whispered softly, "I kept my promise, Samuel. I used my fortune to bring light, and it led me back to you." The camera pans to the snow-covered grounds outside, where Oliver builds a snowman, a scarf wrapped around its neck, the same color as his father's old one. And as the clock chimes midnight, the pocket watch in Oliver's hand ticks in harmony, a symbol that some love stories never end, they simply change form. Studio microphones. Sometimes, the greatest gifts come not wrapped in paper but in second chances.